Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholes. This week, we're headed off to Japan for 3 tales from Grace James's Japanese Fairy Tales. And the first story is a story about an origin. And it's a thing that, man, I absolutely understand why one would create a backstory to it, a description of a why, because it really makes no sense. This is The Fire Quest. The wise poet sat by the light of his taper. It was a night of the 7th month. The cicala sang in the flower of the pomegranate. The frog sang by the pond. The moon was out and all the stars. The air was heavy and sweet-scented. But the poet was not happy. For moths came by the score to the light of his taper. Not moths only, but cockchafers and dragonflies with their wings rainbow-tinted. One and all they came upon the fire quest, one and all. They burned their bright wings in the flame and so died. And the poet was grieved. "Little harmless children of the night," he said, "why will you still fly upon the fire quest? Never, never can you attain, yet you strive and die. Foolish ones, have you never heard the story of the firefly queen?" The moths and cockchafers and the dragonflies fluttered about the taper and paid him no heed. "They have never heard it," said the poet. "Yet it is old enough. Listen. The firefly queen was the brightest and the most beautiful of small things that fly. She dwelt in the heart of a rosy lotus. The lotus grew on a still lake, and it swayed to and fro upon the lake's bosom while the firefly queen slept within. It was like the reflection of a star in the water. You must know, O little children of the night, that the firefly queen had many suitors. Moths and cockchafers and dragonflies innumerable flew to the lotus on the lake, and their hearts were filled with passionate love. Have pity, they cried, Queen of the fireflies, bright light of the lake. But the firefly queen sat and smiled and shone. It seemed that she was not sensible of the incense of love that arose around her. At last she said, "Oh, you lovers, one and all, what make you here idly clumbering my lotus house? Prove your love, if you love me indeed. Go, you lovers, and bring me fire, and then I will answer." Then, O little children of the night, there was a swift whir of wings, for the moths and the cockchafers and the dragonflies innumerable swiftly departed upon the fire quest. But the firefly queen laughed. Afterwards I will tell you the reason of her laughter. So the lovers flew here and there in the still night, taking with them their desire. They found lighted lattices ajar and entered forthwith. In one chamber there was a girl who took a love letter from her pillow and read it in tears by the light of a taper. In another, a woman sat holding the light close to a mirror, where she looked and painted her face. A great white moth put out the trembling candle flame with his wings. "Alack, I am afraid!" shrieked the woman. "The horrible dark!" In another place there lay a man dying. He said, "For pity's sake, light me the lamp, for the black night falls." "We have lighted it," they said, "long since. It is close beside you, and a legion of moths and dragonflies flutter about it." "I cannot see anything at all," murmured the man. But those that flew on the fire quest burnt their frail wings in the fire. In the morning they lay dead by the 100 and were swept away and forgotten. The firefly queen was safe in her lotus bower with her beloved, who was as bright as she, for he was a great lord of the fireflies. No need had he to go upon the fire quest. He carried the living flame beneath his wings. Thus the firefly queen deceived her lovers, and therefore she laughed when she sent them from her on a vain adventure. "Be not deceived," cried the wise poet, "O little children of the night. The firefly queen is always the same. Give over the fire quest." But the moths and the cockchafers and the dragonflies paid no heed to the words of the wise poet. Still they fluttered about his taper, and they burnt up their wings in the flame and so died. Presently the poet blew out the light. "I must needs sit in the dark," he said. "It is the only way." And that is The Fire Quest, a Japanese fairy tale, folktale, from Japanese fairy tales. And I really enjoy this story. It gives an origin to something that really makes little to no sense. Why would an animal willingly burn itself up inside of a flame? This is perfect fodder for folklore. But also, I really love the ending of this. The poet is actually concerned about the insects, about the moths, the dragonflies, the cockchafers or maybug, or doodlebug. He has actual concern for these. And I love that. I love that about this. He decides in the end that he must stay in the dark rather than kill these insects. I really enjoy it. This is Dan Scholes for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget that if you'd like to help support the podcast, you can always head over to patreon.com/folktaleproject, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to every story told. As always, thank you so much for listening.